Hey everybody, this is Colin from Adrenaline RC Racing, and today I'm really excited to show off something really special. I'm joined by Rudy from Bingo RC Designs, and today we're going to look at the Bingo Hachi Drift Kit. Rudy, thanks for being here and showing this off.
Thank you for having me talk about this new product that we should be releasing really soon.
Absolutely, so let's just jump right into it.
Sure.
What's the story behind the Hachi, and where did the inspiration come from?
Well, it actually probably started quite a while ago, but it's mostly from every time I would be at the track and meet new drivers and they're driving and they're just smacking into everything. I would then look at their car and their car was always messed up in some way and they're struggling to learn how to drive. So I said, let's fix up your car, and we tune their car and suddenly they're doing much better.
Sure.
And after doing this over and over again, I really wanted to have something that was easy for a new driver to drive and grow consistently and allow them the opportunity to improve their skills. So from back then I started to think, I really want to build a car that makes sense for these newer drivers. Tying into that, and oddly enough, given the form factor of this car, I also had a CC01 crawler that I heard was being converted into drift cars. And that was sort of sitting on the shelf for a long time. And someday I'll get to this fixed axle thing. People keep telling me, oh, these are really fun and pretty interesting to do.
Sure.
And then came along Total Shop Toge.
Yep.
And he released a really good kit that converted the CC01 into a drift car.
Okay.
And I think he has subsequently released another kit called the RF01 that is a standalone kit. But anyway, I took my CC01, took his kit, and converted it.
Sure.
And drove it around. In fact, I brought it out here, and people loved it. Said this drives amazingly well for being a big fixed axle car.
I was going to just mention that the CC01 is fixed axle, which is one of the unique features about it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a fixed axle car. Had a pretty simple front end for the steering, and said this is really good. And I said, yeah, this drives great. And it had me thinking about mixing this need to build a car that new drivers can drive easily, plus make use of this really cool fixed axle setup.
Right.
So I started tinkering around with that and eventually came up with my own version of that where I made some differences. I really didn't want to carry across all the crawler aspects of it.
Sure.
But I wanted it to be more drift centric. So
Gotcha.
The Hachi car evolved from...
Now let's get into that a little bit. The name Hachi has a bit of a unique story behind it. Where did you come up with Hachi?
Well, that was actually after a long meeting of deliberation with many folks even here at this shop.
Yeah.
But I originally had called this the Bingo Hornet because, as you see with all of the Bingo wasp products, it's following this honeycomb and bee insect kind of theme.
Sure.
And so I said, I'll name it the Hornet. Then I came into the shop one day and you mentioned, how does Tamiya think about that?
Right.
So you're right. There was a Hornet car out there.
Sure. Yep.
So we spent about an hour just throwing all these wild names out there. And eventually we came to this point where, like, what's the Japanese word for this or this? I said, well, let me look up what the Japanese word is for wasp or bee. And it turned out it was Hachi.
Right.
It also means the number 8. And so there's many meanings for this one word. But it kind of stuck. It kind of worked. It made sense. And now it's the name of the car.
Awesome. So let's get into it and look at these cars a little bit more in depth. This is totally a departure from your average drift kit. What standout features make the Hachi unique? Obviously, we touched on the solid rear axle, but there's got to be some more stuff about this that is unique.
Yeah, there's some things that I decided to incorporate in this that, again, to make it easy and simple to build and hopefully reduce the cost of the kit. I changed a lot of features of the car. So some of the first things you'll notice when you look at the Hachi is there's no real shock suspension.
Right.
There aren't shocks you have to build for this. The rear of the car, and I'll show it on this car here, is supported by carbon flexing.
Okay.
So the entire rear assembly is handled by that. Because I noticed when I was using the CC01 conversion, there was actually very little movement from the suspension of the car, just because of the fixed axle and the way it was mounted and everything. I said, you probably don't really need all that much movement.
Yeah.
But using the flexible system back here allowed me to mount the rear axle without having to do any linkages.
Okay.
Various linkages to keep this axle on a crawler stable. Well, 2 carbon arms can do that same job.
Sure.
And then to keep the back end from bouncing too much, I originally put a shock back here on the back.
Okay.
And I said, oh, I bet you I can make that even simpler. And I started playing around with printing TPU parts, and sure enough, a TPU spring like this manages the damping enough where this doesn't bounce, keeps the back axle on the ground, and there's no moving parts. It's no maintenance on that.
So it's super unique rear end compared to most drift cars on
having this is very simple and easy to build.
Yeah.
And then moving on to the front, and I tried many different variations for the front, but in the end of the front, one of the pet peeves I had whenever I build a car is anytime you move something in the front, the pins and the toe blocks and the shims would all fall all over the place. It's kind of a pain.
Right.
I said I need it to be a contained unit. So I decided to not use any toe blocks, and I use a TPU hinge right here. So the front arm is actually, lower arm is just a hinge of TPU plastic.
Sure. With
a fixed upper arm, and the TPU actually dampens it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I experimented with many different types of upper arms. I had even carbon upper arms and other flexing things, but it turns out a simple spring on a shaft did the trick, and it allowed it to give enough movement but not have any of the complexity.
Sure. So we have 6 links total up front?
6 links up in the front, yeah.
So we have our upper and lower arms, and then our toe links.
And then our steering links, yeah.
See, that's awesome. So now we take away a lot of the complexity that comes with also having shocks up front and maybe a whole bell crank setup. Instead, we have a direct drive with 6 links and a very simple setup for the suspension on the front knuckles.
Yeah, and this was all inspired by what Total Shop did on his kit, and I actually talked to him about it. I said, how did you do this? What did you do this? And we had a long conversation about the various ways we approach solving different problems on this.
Very cool.
So, but yeah, direct link makes it very simple.
Yep.
So it just makes it simple. You can actually do some of these things. Now, there's a couple other unique things that I tried to build into this car, again, to solve some of the pet peeves I have when I build cars. I've built quite a few of them by now. Whenever you have a mid-motor setup like this, or an inline motor, it's very hard to get the mesh on the pinion and the spur gear adjusted right, because as soon as you let go, it moves and it shifts and all those things.
Sure.
So I added this alignment slide plate that attaches to the motor and has set screws at the bottom under here, which allows you to raise and lower the motor positioning and hold it in position.
I see. So you mount the motor to the plate loosely.
Yes.
And then we use the actual set screws in here to raise and lower to set our mesh precisely.
Correct. And then you can tighten down the lockdown, the main mounting screws, and that should keep this motor from slipping down.
Sure.
When you're tightening those screws.
Yeah.
It's a simple little thing, but it helps adjust some of that. And later we can talk about, I even use this adjustment plate to add the motor fan mount to that. Yeah,
so this is something that we'll talk about in a moment, but we have some option parts and potential upgrade stuff in the works for this.
Correct. We'll be adding a fan mount for it, so it makes it easy to sit right there on top.
So, continuing on, for somebody who has been in the ready-to-run space and is ready to step into potentially building their own kit, would you recommend this for a first-time builder?
Yeah, I think this works out as a really good first-time build kit.
Okay.
Primarily due to its simplicity.
Sure,
You could probably build this within a couple hours.
Okay.
Experienced builders will build this within an hour. There's just not that many parts to build.
Right.
But because you don't have to deal with shocks, and everything just mounts together very cleanly.
Yes.
It's very easy to build. And if you follow the book setup and just get exactly the right lengths on these, it should drive incredibly well on the track.
Okay.
So that's the main key, is get something that is already pre-tuned to work well on the track. Put good electronics in here. I mean, decent electronics will help, and off you go. And you don't have to deal with readjusting everything again. It should just get right on the track and actually just have fun.
Excellent. And that kind of leads into the next point. We've talked about the new guy being able to pick this up and drive it successfully pretty much right away, because the geometry and everything is set up pretty much, ready to go right out of the box. However, who is this kit geared toward for driving? Is it just for the newbie, or can experienced guys jump in with this and have fun as well?
Yeah, hopefully, it's really geared for everyone. The newbies, the new drivers will enjoy it, because I think it's very predictable and easy to control because of the fixed axle, and it's a spool because these are locked together. The transitions are very easy because both wheels are always spinning, and it actually will transition very quickly.
So we have a spool in the rear axle, is what you're stating.
It's a spool in the rear axle,
Okay.
and that it's fixed. It actually can swing around very quickly.
Okay.
But experienced drivers just have a hoot driving this out there. In fact, we've had many experienced drivers compete with this car and place first, second, and third using earlier prototypes of this car.
That's impressive.
Yeah, they just, let me drive it, and they have a great time. So I think both beginner and experienced drivers should have fun just driving it, which is the whole point of building these things.
I think that's the whole point of Drift, but we would just want to go in there, have a fun build, and then also have a fun drive.
Yeah.
So I think we're striking a really good balance with the Hachi where, you know, the build is quick and easy and satisfying. We can jump right on the track and have some fun with it, whether we are beginner, intermediate, or advanced. So it's a super cool, versatile kit, which kind of brings us into one of our last points. What does the future hold for the Hachi? And I know people are going to be asking, what's the ETA on these? When are they going to be available for people to buy?
Well, let's talk about I'll talk about when it's available first. I'll do this in reverse order. Probably by the end of September, I'll have some kits ready to go.
Okay,
but
very
certainly
soon.
in October, I should have even more kits ready.
Okay.
So there's pre-orders are open, I think both here at Adrenaline and some other dealers. But yeah, very soon. I'm just waiting for the last few parts to get the packaging put together, and we should be ready to go. So what's coming in the future for some of these cars? Well, there's a couple of upgrades and enhancements that we'll be adding to the Hachi. First of all, the Hachi comes with a 3D printed front bumper and a 3D printed battery holder. But these are basically the same standard mount points for any of the Bingo RC Designs carbon fiber parts. So you can get a carbon fiber bumper if you'd like, and you can put the carbon fiber universal battery holder right here on the back.
So we can match our carbon that comes in the kit with whatever carbon fiber.
Right. If you want to go even lighter, you can do those kinds of things, make those upgrades. It actually can also support the Bingo RC Designs high CG battery tray. The mount points here, you can see these four standoffs are the same mount points for the high CG tray. So you can actually put the battery up above here and get even more weight shift. Though it's not technically a weight shift chassis. If you want to get a little bit more of that sway, put your battery up by the roof and you should have a lot more fun with that.
Very cool.
Then there's, we mentioned the motor fan mount, that'll be available.
So this is a 3D printed piece that effectively allows you to mount a fan to cool a motor.
Right. It just goes right on the top of the slide adjustment plate. So it sits right up there, makes it convenient to put a mount. Since it's not that easy to put fans on inline motors.
Correct.
They often have interesting challenges.
Sure.
Then we have a couple new variations. So I'll show you on this chassis here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have what I call the Hachi CF, or custom front.
Okay.
So everything else is stock on this car, stock bottom, stock everything in the back end, but the upper deck has a Yokomo mount setup. And you'll notice on the Hachi bottom chassis, there's a lot of extra holes.
Yeah.
What are all these holes here? This is so you could put any YD2 compatible front end on the front of the Hachi, as well as an RDX front end will fit on here, and the Team AD front end, and the Rhino Shark DDSS, which is what I show here. So once you've got this kit, though, a lot of people actually like the direct simple drive that it comes with. You can get this extra upper deck, the CF custom front, and put anything you want up here in the front.
Very neat.
You can have a lot of fun with that as well.
Okay, so we can totally modularize and customize the front end to run a Yokomo, a Rev D, Shark, pretty much whatever we want.
Just about anything there. I'll state up front, the SD 3.0 won't fit here. There's not enough space because of the way they do the brackets. But the RD2, any of the YD2 stuff, you can have a lot of fun with it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much the things coming out immediately. There may be some more future enhancements. I suspect I'll be asked to build a full ready-to-run kit with this. So look for that probably maybe later in the year. We'll have these already pre-built, pre-installed electronics with a decent radio. And that should be a lot of fun. I think people should really enjoy that. And maybe some other stuff, but we'll talk about those later, about some other weight shift things I've got cooking. But
so definitely stay tuned for potentially some nice updates and upgrades coming down the line for the Hachi. And the Hachi is coming out potentially late this month or into October. So stay tuned for that. Rudy, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you showing off the Hachi for everybody to have a look at.
Absolutely.
I know I've been getting a lot of questions about it. Hopefully this answers some for people.
Yeah, you went through one of the first builds.
This is my personal Hachi, which I was honored to receive and put together and build, and I have test drove it, and it is a pleasure to drive on the track.
Excellent.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for showing off the Hachi.
Yep.
You can find the Hachi and more at adrenalinrcracing.com, and follow us and like and subscribe.